I haven't done a proper headset review in quite a while, so I'm not going to say a bunch of what everyone else has been saying with the Quest 3 in the sense of not going to start into the whole unboxing and all the little details. I'm pretty sure by the time most of you see this video, you'll probably know a lot of those details. So I'm just going to go a bit more into my own experience with the Quest 3 and how I feel it compares with other headsets that I've used. Now the first thing I want to talk about is just simply the audio, the microphone, and the speakers. Since that's the first impression you guys are getting right now, is the microphone. From listening to it, I feel it doesn't sound as good as the Quest 2, and definitely not as good as the Index. There has been some complaints about the robot mic happening, and if you know what that was with the Rift S. When someone was using a microphone, sometimes their mic would start sounding robotic and staticky. And some have said that this has that problem too. I haven't heard it myself, but we'll have to see how many other people maybe have this problem. Regarding the onboard audio, the speakers, they are an improvement over the Quest 2. They're actually louder and they have a bit more bass and low end. Now, most people kind of just leave it there, but the thing is, I'm a little bit also into the audiophile community, mainly with headphones and other portable audio. I actually have a second channel over here where I review headphones and different audio devices with proper measurement gear. And over on that channel, I already reviewed the Quest 3 audio, how it compares with the Index and the original Rift, and produced measurements that you take with a proper ear simulator that very closely resembles how a real human would hear it. So using that rig, I did a whole bunch of measurements and a proper just straight audio review over there, as well as headphone recommendations I would put with that. This is sometimes done because it can sometimes make things sound bigger or give like a larger sound. And to be honest, spatial effects such as imaging were actually quite decent in the Quest 3. So if you want to get a more in-depth, straight Quest 3 audio review, go check out that video. Now the actual visuals and how does this compare with my Index, especially for VRChat, Beat Saber, and racing sims, which is what I mainly play. So visually, this is the best headset I've ever used. That's not something I say lightly. Straight up visually, the best thing about this is the pancake lenses. Now, if you're familiar at all with the Index, you'll know that it has some of the worst God rays and glare of any VR headset out there in the market. And this is unfortunate since it costs $500 for the headset alone, and then another $500 for the tracking and controllers. So $1,000 in, it's got a great field of view, and it was quite high resolution at the time, but the glare was the worst thing about it. So with the pancake lenses, they don't have the rings in it, and they also don't have any blurriness around the edges. So you put it on, and everything is just straight clear. That combined with the new Quest panels, or as Meta is calling them, infinite panels, they have layers on it to help sort of diffuse the screen door effect. So in this one, screen door effect is near non-existent. I wouldn't even call it screen door effect. Even on the Index, it was getting hard to see at that time, and the Quest 2 was pretty good. So with this one, you can still make out square shapes where pixels are, but in between the pixels you don't see any lines anymore. You can still make out the shape of pixels, but it's very small, and it looks pretty much seamless. So from a pure visual standpoint, and this really stands out if you're in a virtual theater and watching movies, this is a straight upgrade from the Index in every way. Almost. There is some issues with the visuals of this headset, which has also been a point that some have been complaining about. Now the biggest thing is, sure, you don't have blurriness around the edges of the lenses, and you don't have the glare, but around the very edges of the lenses, it gets darker, almost like a sort of vignette idea. Now this is something where it's not a big issue. Most of the time in gameplay, you're looking straight ahead and you don't even notice it, but it's mostly when you start to look around, and just as you're looking around slowly, you can see the edge where you were looking starts to get darker. I think this is also more apparent because of the pancake lenses, because with other headsets, you sort of train yourself to look straight ahead and just follow wherever you turn your head. Whereas this one, you're more prone to actually looking around the lenses because as you turn your head, it stays clear. But the problem with that is as you turn your head, it starts to get a little bit darker around the edges. Now, it's not a big issue, it's just kind of an annoyance that's there. But truth be told, I would prefer that as a trade-off over all the God rays and glare and blur. So it's actually not a bad trade-off. In terms of field of view, this is the best field of view from any Oculus headset. If you're coming from the Quest 2, it's a huge upgrade. So for social games, VRChat, or things where you just want to take in a little bit more of a visual experience, I really do recommend this headset. Now, the controllers, the tracking, how does this work? So with the Quest 3, they got rid of the rings, and it's just little controllers in your hand, and it uses hand tracking along with it to help make the algorithm really good. Best thing about these new controllers, in my opinion, is the internal sensors. With these new ones, the predictive algorithm in the controllers are quite good. Now, one thing people were concerned about is the camera placement of this headset is different. The Quest had cameras here and cameras here, whereas this one has cameras here and then cameras down here. So you got pretty much like a front and down view, but nothing up high. How does the controller tracking work in those areas? So if I can just find the edge of visual tracking without moving my head. Okay, so I think that's, yeah, about here is the top where I can still see the controllers. Yeah, and then you get a pretty wide range where you can see it. Actually, I think I can even go back a bit. So actually quite far back, you still can see the controllers. Now, with the Quest 2, with the rings, one thing I did like about that is that when you have your hands down at the side, it would still be able to see the controllers because the ring was sticking out a bit. In VRChat, and if you're just standing there kind of at your side, it can get occluded a bit. This is something that if you were playing with Windows Mixed Reality, you would have known this. I would just kind of develop a little swing, right? When you're standing, you just kind of swing your arms. It'd always keep the controllers tracked because the headset would get a little glimpse of where the controllers are, and then the internal sensors would keep it tracking. So with this, while this is technically kind of out of its range, the internal sensors are actually quite decent at keeping it tracking outside of its camera range. So as you know, with inside-out tracking, you can move it outside of the camera view, and it will still keep mostly tracking. But I think the algorithm has been improved, because say you get it locked like outside of your camera range, it still tries to move and follow the motion tracking. But just overall tracking quality in games, I find this is really good and much better than the Quest 2 was. In Beat Saber, this feels a lot less latency and just more accurate, especially with that depth sensor. I think that the depth sensor makes a huge improvement to the tracking quality. Another big thing that the Quest 3 is pushing is the hand tracking, and the hand tracking has improved a lot. In the standalone version of VRChat on the Quest, you can use full hand tracking just without the controllers, and it's surprisingly good. It actually has quite a large range that it can track your hands, and it's a really immersive experience to play with absolutely no controllers. Unfortunately, this only works in the standalone version. Now, while I'm using Virtual Desktop to play this on my PC, it does have kind of hand tracking, so you can move your hands, but it doesn't have any finger tracking or any button presses. So it's kind of a broken system trying to use hand tracking with Virtual Desktop, but in the standalone mode, it is a really cool experience. The Quest 3, one of the big things that they're pushing is the pass-through. Now, as you probably might have heard, people complain that the pass-through is not the best quality, in the sense of it looks super clear in videos, but then when you actually try it, it's a bit grainy. It's way better than the Quest 2 and even the Quest Pro. It's hard to explain, but you can see that this is going to be the future of devices. Just doing normal tasks and having like windows or mixed reality experiences around with you seems way more immersive than even VR experiences. It's hard to explain connection between your real world and then having a big screen or little experiences going on. You really don't notice the graininess. So how is the experience, just playing a game in PC VR? Because we all know the standalone system. The Quest 2 has been around for years now, and it's one of the most popular VR systems, and this is just pretty much a straight upgrade in every way that the Quest 2 was. The PC VR experience, at first, I wasn't really that impressed using the Link. Oculus Link has never really been that great of a system anyway. So now using Virtual Desktop, I'm on a Wi-Fi 5 router, and the experience is quite good. It's actually pretty impressive. With Link, I was seeing more artifacting around things, kind of like, the JPEG squares. Whereas with this, I don't really see many artifacts. Just some textures seem a little bit more lower res when they're at a distance, but overall it's actually a pretty good experience. And if you have a Wi-Fi 6 router, I hear it's even better. So really for a PC VR experience, if you're playing wireless, I can see this being pretty much a perfect headset if your computer's spec'd well and you would maybe adjust some settings to get the best performance. So in the end, what do I think? Do I think I'll replace the index with this. I'm still not quite sure. There's still some things I do prefer about the index, mainly the tracking. And the index is still, one of the best in this way, as well as the audio in the index is still probably one of the best in a headset. Also in my comparison video. So with this, there's still some trade-offs and things I like about the index. I got full body tracking with the index as well, which you can do a mixed setup with this. To have a proper mixed setup, I need to buy an extra tracker and then attach it to this headset, and then I'd have perfect full body tracking with my Steam VR system and controllers with the Quest. But I don't really want to do that right now. So for now, at least, I'll probably still keep using my index for VRChat. And it's still a really comfortable headset, and it's still good. But the visuals of the Quest 3 is quite impressive in comparison. Going from this to that, I was just kind of in the index looking around, being used now to looking around the lenses more, and I did notice a lot more glare and blur in the index. Although again, you do get used to it quick. Once again, thanks for watching the video. I know it's been quite a long time since I've been uploading videos, but it's nice to be a little bit back into VR again. As well, I do have my second channel all about audio and headphone reviews, so if you're interested in that, please go check that out too.